All right, so for any new listeners to the podcast, at the end of each episode, we always feature an original song or piece of music from various different artists. We have bands from all over the world that send us in their stuff, and today we have a band from Ireland called Ham Sandwich. That's right, Ham Sandwich. Not turkey sandwich, not chicken sandwich, not beef sandwich, Ham Sandwich. And they're an Irish indie rock band from Kells in County Meath. And they've been around quite a while, actually. They've been around since 2003. They have 3 studio albums out, and they've just released a new album called Magnify, and you can check that out. Yeah, so stick around for the end of the episode to listen to Ham Sandwich.
Okie dokie. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 39 of the Paddy and the Yank podcast. Paddy, how you doing?
I'm alive!
Welcome back, baby. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels good, man. It feels good to be over this COVID. I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. What, like 3 or 4 weeks?
It's been a solid 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, man. I got it pretty bad. Like, anybody I had talked to that had got COVID had like a bit of a sore throat or a headache or a temperature and that, man. I got it pretty down. I was like throwing up. Had diarrhea. I couldn't eat food for 3 days. Didn't sleep for the first 3 days I got COVID. Really high temperature, body aches, my legs. I had like dead legs. It was torture. And even now, like this is 3 weeks after I got COVID, I still get out of breath very quick now. Like if I took the dog to the park, let's say the 8 days after I was sick, I tested negative and I was still feeling really sick. And I said, "Fuck it, I'm going outside. I'm taking the dog to the park." 10 minutes into walking into the park, I was like out of breath, like panting. And I was like, what the fuck?
Just walking.
So
wow.
I'm still feeling the effects of it. So yeah, I gotta say, I didn't get no vaccines and none of this kind of stuff and that. But yeah, whatever I got there, COVID or that, it was no joke, yeah.
You got to wonder, everybody's got their a very firm opinion about whether the vaccines reduces the side effects or if it's a case-by-case scenario. I went to this physio doctor the other day, and his theory is that the more high-strung you are, or the more of like a workaholic you are, the harder it hits you because that wears your immune system down.
I'm definitely not a workaholic anyways. I mean, I train a lot, but I mean, I don't feel like I'm...
He was asking me about you. He's like, well, does he push himself really hard? Is he like, always go, go, go? Is he high-strung? And then he said, is he like ADD? I'm like, oh, ADD, yeah. Like, I can answer that. The other ones, I was like, I don't really know. Like, we're both kind of like workaholics and like, it's like ice bath, headstands, train really, really hard. So I feel like we both kind of push ourselves a little hard.
Yeah, but these things don't give me any stress. They do the opposite. They de-stress me. They make me feel relaxed, comfortable. They make me feel relaxed, comfortable, and fresh. Like if I'm not, like, one of the hardest parts too of the COVID was, I mean, again, the symptoms I got were pretty rough. But like having us hang about in the same house and same room for 7 days, and that was pretty torturous. I couldn't even look at a book or nothing. The girlfriend's like, "Oh, I'll go to the library and get you some books." And I was like, "She got a book too." And I was looking at it. I couldn't even read it. I couldn't think about anything other than being sick. I felt that bad. So
yeah, that's how I felt during the lockdown. Like, can't leave, can't go outside, so claustrophobic.
And we didn't even get it bad here. No lockdown here in Ireland. They had lockdown for like 2 years. Literally, you can't leave 5 kilometers from your house.
Oh, we could still go outside the whole time.
Here it was fine. Here it was a choice whether you wanted to stay inside or not. Yeah. Anyways, that's it. I'm back. It was rough. I'm about 95%. Yeah. So one thing that I was doing, let's say about day 4, day 5 into having COVID, is I started listening to this channel on YouTube called Scary Bear Attacks. Have you ever heard of it? Or
yeah, I heard about scary fucking animal attacks.
He's got another channel I think called Scary Animal Attacks, and then he's got one called Scary Bear Attacks.
I don't think I listened to the Scary Bear Attacks.
Man, it's pretty wild. Like, it's what the guy does is, I don't know the guy's name or anything, but his channel, anybody who's listening can check it out on YouTube. It's called Scary Bear Attacks, or like Scary Animal Attacks, and he reads out like real life animal attacks that happened. Like, and on the Scary Bear Attacks, it's about bears that attack humans, and sometimes the humans survive, sometimes they don't. But it's very ominous the way he does it. Like, he's like, and then the bear came into the campsite and dragged poor Timmy out by the legs. He pulled him into the bush and he clasped his jaws around his face, ripping his face off. It's like, fuck, what the hell?
You sound like Clarice.
Hello, Clarice. Yeah. I've noticed you're wearing Dior again today. You took 50 steps. So I was listening to this channel, and it was like, man, every night, like, I'd turn on the lamp and I'd be like listening to all these bear attacks. Pretty scary. I could ask you, you're from America. Have you ever had an encounter with a bear?
No, I'm from Ohio, right? So we don't even have wild animals.
Just humans.
Just
Wild
people.
humans.
No, I've never had an interaction with any sort of wild animal.
What?
Like a wild animal?
Have you-
in Taiwan, I have. Like, I've encountered a wild monkey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where me and my girlfriend were hiking, and we're walking, and all of a sudden, in front of us, in the trees above the trail, we kind of just see. I just saw eyes like looking at me. I'm like, what the? And then I kind of grab my girlfriend and we stop, and then it's this monkey. And the closer we get, the angrier the monkey gets, and his like hands are on the tree, and he starts like pushing the tree up and down. We're like, shit. And then this like older Taiwanese dude comes by. He's like, come on, guys, come on, just follow me. And he kind of barks at the monkey, and then he just
barks at the monkey.
Yeah, I don't know. He kind of like barked at the monkey or something, and he's like, come on, just follow me. It's nothing. And we're like, oh, it's nothing. Okay.
I can tell you, right? People think monkeys are cute and funny and friendly and all this. And when I was a young kid, I always like, I want to have a pet monkey when I get older. But I've had quite a few wild monkey encounters, and I can tell you, monkeys are fucking aggressive, testosterone-fueled little fuckers. My brother hates them. I think I told you the story before where I seen a monkey like robbing a kid on an island called Monkey Island in Vietnam before. I was so high on Valium and stuff like that I was sitting on this little ledge beside these trees. And there was this kid there, and these monkeys surrounded him. And they were like grabbing at his shorts and pulling him. He was screaming in terror.
Whoa,
and I was sitting there just watching, going, I can't help you, man. I'm too fucked. I was sitting there, everyone started running over all the parents, and I was like the only one I was just sitting there just like, I can't even barely stand up off this ledge. Like, I'm so fucked. And then I was watching this all happen. Like, he was terrified. Monkeys are no joke, man.
In Siem Reap, Cambodia, after you walk through the Angkor Wat temple,
yeah, they're all
monkeys everywhere, and people drink. You can buy a fresh coconut, drink it, and then everybody throws it so the monkeys can eat it. But the monkeys will also like take it, right? And the mom will be walking around with the baby on the belly, hanging upside down. But they're like vicious little creatures. You don't want to piss them off.
I was in that same spot in Siem Reap with the monkeys. I got out with the tuk-tuk that we were driving. My brother was with me. My brother hates monkeys now because of how aggressive they were. Like, I was stupid, of course, back then. I've done some stupid things around wild animals. But anyways, I got some of these nuts. I was eating these nuts, like these coconut nuts. And
coconut nuts?
They got the shell, like they've got like some kind of coconut shell on them, and they've got the nut inside. They're very popular.
Also, they don't grow naturally. They're made.
No.
I was like, what? Coconut nuts?
I used to get them when you go to Vietnam. We went out in this boat, and it was like somebody rows their little boat up beside you when you're out in the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
And they sell you these nuts and stuff, and I was like eating them like crazy. But anyways, I was in Cambodia and I got these nuts, and I said I was giving them to this monkey, and he's grabbing them in my hand. These monkeys are big with big teeth, and then I put the nuts up on my shoulder. And the monkey jumped up my fucking leg and was sitting on my shoulder eating these nuts. And then I was like, shit, okay, this is kind of fucking scary. Yeah. And all the other monkeys were coming along then and starting to kind of show their teeth and get aggressive. And I was like, fuck. And my brother's like, you fucking idiot. Like, what are you going to do now? Like, this could rip your face. I'm like, fuck, what do I do? So I was having the nuts in my hand. He just kept grabbing them out of my hand then. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, he finished the ones on my shoulder very quick. And then he's just grabbing the nuts out of my hand.
He's
like, these are mine, bitch.
He's sitting on your shoulder.
Sitting on my fucking shoulder.
He's shitting on your shoulder.
He's sitting on my shoulder and he's saying, I want them nuts, boy.
And he's eating nuts out of your hand from your shoulder.
He's just pulling them out of my hand now. He's like, anything I have in my hands, I'm like, please, I have no more. Like, let me go. And then he's like, kind of just looks around me, and this is the moment where I'm thinking, fuck, he's just either going to bite me, fucking scrape me, or whatever. And he just kind of pushed me and jumped off my shoulder, and I was like, take me back to the tuk-tuk.
Imagine if like all his friends came over and they all just like get on top
of
you.
They were all like at the bottom of me, like kind of growling and making stuff, doing stuff with their teeth. And I was like, I'm fucked. Like,
you get attacked by like 6 monkeys, that'd be some scary shit.
I thought it was going to happen, man. But so anyways, yeah, wild animals. So you've never had an encounter with a bear or seen a bear in the wild or anything like that, no?
No, I went to the zoo the other day and I saw a bear there.
You fucking terrible human being.
I had to. It was a field trip for school. I took my babies there. We saw a lot of little baby monkeys that were really cool, like white bearded monkeys that were like the size of my head.
Could be like a capuchin monkey.
Yeah, we definitely saw a capuchin, and it was crazy. Like they weren't in cages; they were like free, running around like where we were walking. It was pretty cool. I was like, wow, I've never seen animals so free at the zoo before.
I've never seen animals so free at the zoo.
You know what I mean? Usually they're behind like a glass window. You can't touch them. And there was like peacocks like walking freely. And like these little capuchin monkeys or something like that, like just running around freely.
They weren't in the maximum security wing of this zoo, were they?
The toucans were in maximum security.
These were in lighter security, like a open prison. These guys.
The leopard was in maximum security. And I remember my co-teacher, she was like, "Man, they look so lonely." I'm like, "Yeah, they do."
You know, I get zero buzz out of going to a zoo. I don't get anything from it.
Yeah.
If I encounter an animal in the wild, I get a feeling like I can't even express. I've had a lot of wildlife encounters, and I've probably told you before, but I get this
You
crazy.
did a whole fucking podcast on it, man.
I'm about to do another one. I get a crazy feeling when I observe an animal in the wild, and maybe if it hasn't seen me, like, and I just get to observe it in its natural habitat and what it does and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm big into that. And long story short, I had an encounter with a bear,
Whoa.
a very close encounter with a fucking grizzly bear in Canada, when I was hiking up a mountain before. And you know what? I had no idea. I had no idea I had an encounter with a grizzly bear. I had no idea there was a bear even there until I was coming down the mountain. I'll tell you the quick story, right?
Okay.
So long story short, I drove across Canada and I was in a place called BC, British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
They got the Rocky Mountains there. Anyway, I was hanging with these two girls, and there was like, you're in the mountains everywhere, and they're like, oh, we're going to hike this mountain tomorrow. You want to come with us? And I was like, fuck yeah, that looks insane. Fucking right I do. And they go, okay, this guy Dwight's going to come with us. He's going to like take us up the mountain and show us how to hike it and whatever. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So the next morning we walked to the bottom of this, or we got a taxi way out to the bottom, the base of this mountain. And the other side of the mountain, you could see like there was a cable car, like a gondola going up the mountain. And I was like, what's the story with that? And they're like, oh, if you hike up the mountain, you can come down in the cable car for free. They said most people that go up this mountain, they take the cable car up. Most people don't hike this mountain. I was like, okay, this is cool. All right, nice. Most people don't do this. This is going to be cool. It was really fucking high. Like, I think it was over 3,000 meters, maybe. It was a very high mountain. Mm-hmm. And anyways, Dwight met us. Dwight's like...
He sounds untrustworthy.
As soon as I heard his name, it was like, Dwight. And Dwight was decked out like in all the fucking like outdoor gear. He had a big belt on him with a fucking whistle and bear mace, all the shit. He looked like... He was decked out like for shit. So I was like, oh, hey Dwight, what's the story? So I was like, asking him, I hiked this mountain before and stuff. He's like, yeah, many times. I said, what's the story with your bear mates and stuff like that? Like, and he said, oh, there's lots of brown bears in this mountain, grizzlies and stuff like that. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, and he told me about an encounter he had one time where he was hiking the mountain. He came into this little bit of a valley. I don't think it was this particular part of the mountain, a different part or a different side. And he said he heard a bear on one side of him, up on the left or whatever that, and he pulled out his bear mace and he made a move to go forward. He said, and then he heard another bear to the right. He said there was at least 2 bears around him. He couldn't see them, but they were close. And he was like hiding then under this log. And it took him hours to get off the mountain. You'd be terrified. So I was like, okay, so there's bears in this mountain. So long story short, we climb up the mountain with no incidences happening, nothing like that. But the whole time I'm thinking, fuck, there's bears. Could be bears around here. It's kind of crazy. And we get to the top. It's like, fuck, that was crazy. That was a serious hike, like really good hike. And we said, all right, we went into the place. We want to get the cable car down. We hiked the mountain. Can we get the cable car down free? Said, okay, cool, whatever. So we're in the cable car and we're coming down. Like, it's really fucking high. I don't like cable cars. I'm fine with hiking stuff myself and putting my own trust in my ability to climb stuff. When I'm in a cable car or I'm in a fucking amusement ride in a fairground, I hate it. I'm terrified. If I climb something like that, I'm cool. I'm in control. I'm good with that. So we're coming down the cable car, and the cable car's full of people, and the guy that's running the cable car, that's wearing the outfit for this place, whatever, he goes, hey, we the guys that were climbing up the east face of the mountain there earlier, blah, 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 just about whatever. Or Dwight's like, yeah. The guy's like, oh man, he goes, there was a huge grizzly just this side of you guys here. He goes, just over this side of the face. He goes, we stopped the cable car. Everybody was watching and taking. I was like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? He's like, no man, there was like a grizzly just this side of you guys. He goes, you guys didn't hear it or see it, nothing. I was like, you fucking kidding me? There was a grizzly bear only a few meters away from us hiking up this mountain, and we had no fucking idea.
Wait, I'm sorry. They saw it from the cable car?
They saw it from the cable car.
Whoa.
They saw it from the guy told us on the gondola. They were watching it from the cable car.
Whoa.
And the bears roaming around or whatever. We're over on the left. The bears on the right of us, just around this little turn. And we didn't see it, didn't hear it, didn't smell it, nothing. And
Holy shit.
He was not far away from us.
That's insane.
So we come down the mountain. I'm like, fuck me, that's crazy. That is wild. That is intense. What do I think about this? And when we come down the mountain, we called a taxi because the mountain is far away from this guy's house, whatever. We called the taxi. I'd never encountered a bear in the wild before, and I love trying to see animals in the wild. I mean, I'd be scared of seeing a bear or a cougar in the wild, but I was like, that was crazy. Like, that was my first, encounter with a bear, and I didn't even see it. And we got into the taxi, and we're kind of like amped up and kind of like, whoa, that adrenaline rush from what we just heard. And we told the guy in the taxi, man, fuck, we were on the mountain there, and there was this bear, and but we didn't see him. And he goes, do you want to see a bear? And I was like, what? How do you mean? He's like, there's a bear in a tree down here at someone's front garden. The park rangers are down here. You want me to take you there? I was like, what? Fucking yeah, what the hell? So he's like, all right, hang on a second. So we drive down this road, and he like stops the car, and we look, and there's like 2 park rangers on the left-hand side leaning against their truck looking up, and we like looking in the taxi, and there's a fucking bear, a big brown bear up in this tree just holding on. I'm like, what the hell? And I was like, is that a brown bear? It looks pretty small. He goes, it's a black bear. but black bears can have different coloured coats of brown. Now, a black bear is smaller than a grizzly bear. And, I'll break down a few things about bears.
Great.
Brown bears or grizzly bears are some of the bigger species of bears that there are.
Brown
right?
bears are grizzly bears?
Yeah, a grizzly bear is a subspecies of a brown bear.
Okay.
Then you also have what's called, I think it's a Kodiak bear, which is one of the biggest bears in the world. The biggest bear in the world is a polar bear, right?
Okay.
A polar bear is the biggest bear in the world. I think they can stand like 11 feet tall when they stand on their back legs, which is insane.
That's like 2 of me.
Crazy, right?
That's
a grizzly
insane.
bear maybe can stand 7 to 10 feet tall when it stands on its back legs. If a grizzly bear is on all fours, a big grizzly bear, he'd be about 5 foot at his shoulder. So from the ground to his shoulder would be about 5 foot. And a brown bear is much smaller. Like a Kodiak bear, I think, can weigh 1,000 pounds or more, which is crazy. Like, and a grizzly bear maybe will get to 500 to 700 pounds in weight. Also, most attacks on people, right? Let's say most attacks on humans, if a grizzly attacks the person, usually it's because the grizzly is protecting her cubs. It'll be a sow, which is like a female grizzly, and she's protecting her cubs. So usually it's territorial or in a defensive manner, right? So a grizzly will maul somebody. A lot of the times when a grizzly mauls somebody, it doesn't eat them. A lot of the time, because it's protecting its cubs, and it will maul you until it thinks you're dead, and then it will, a lot of the times, go away, and then, look after the cubs, do whatever like that. It might come back later to eat you if you're still there or whatever like that. Whereas a black bear, if a black bear attacks you, it's usually predatory. They're attacking you to eat you.
Oh, wow.
So, like, what's scarier? The bear attacking you to eat you, or the bear just attacking you to defend its cubs, and it might just maul you and leave you there?
Well, that's a good question. That's a very hard question to answer. Which one is scarier, a defensive bear or a predatory bear?
It's fucking crazy.
Couldn't tell you. I don't know. I just keep thinking about all these movies and stories. I actually had lots of. I listened to a lot of stuff about bears recently I totally forgot about until now, and you're actually making me remember all these stories I heard recently.
They're one of the ultimate land predators.
There's also a specific way to defend yourself against a bear, right?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because there's I would always ask people. I met a lot of people in Canada that had close encounters with bears. Like, they literally rolled around the corner on a hike and there was a fucking grizzly there. And I asked them, what did you do? One guy was like, I fucking ran.
Ooh.
One dude said he pissed himself and stood there and standing. Then he started making noise and trying to sit big, and the grizzly went off. Both these guys escaped unscathed. Now, what they'll say is that if you get attacked by a bear, you should leave your pack on your back. Leave your pack on, because most animals like that, like let's say cats as well, wild cats, even lions, cougars, let's say bears. A lot of the time they'll go for your neck and your head. That's how they'll try and take you out, right? So if you leave your pack on and play dead, you should life. Now this all sounds good and well, but imagine trying to do this when there's a fucking massive saliva drooling from the corners of its mouth, wild, empty eyes, giant grizzly coming at you or standing off you.
What sound do they make?
I don't know, like I don't know, like
no,
a big...
I don't know. I heard Joe Rogan do it one day, but I can't remember how.
That's right, yeah.
Almost
they do,
like a bark, kind of, yeah.
Like a grunt, like a
deep
grunt.
Guttural. Yeah.
That's terrifying, man.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
So this is what some people say. You should lay flat on your stomach with your hands clasped behind your neck and then spread your legs to make it harder for the bear to turn you over, right? Now, imagine you come face to face with a grizzly. Imagine having the balls to just drop down on the ground and lie flat down. Now, with your hands behind your head, the reason to put your hands behind your head or your neck is because he's going to try and grab you by the neck or grab you by the head. A lot of people get their scalp ripped off. A very common trait in bear attacks is people get their whole scalp ripped off because the bear will clasp around your head, and again their back, because a lot of people will lie down face down. But imagine trying to do that. Also, the worry I would have if I lied down, I would always have thought I'll keep my legs together in case he rips my balls off or my dick off.
You bleed to death.
Fucking crazy. But the thing is, they go for around the head area and the neck area and stuff in the back. But if you spread your legs out, you've got more. You're
sense.
More stable. It's harder for them to turn you over.
From a gravity
point
of view?
Yeah, a wider base. There you go. Yeah, exactly. So they reckon that's what you should do. Other people say that you should make yourself look big. Make yourself look really big and try and make some loud noises. One of the rules for thumb that I hear from most people I've chatted with or any research I've done is do not run.
Yeah, well, that's with any wild animal, right? Even a dog.
Exactly.
Do not run.
You kick in their predatory instinct.
Yeah.
Of the prey runs and I'm the predator and I chase. So it can kick that in on the animal. Plus, a grizzly will outrun you all day long.
Right.
You'll never outrun a fucking grizzly or a black bear. And another misconception is some people will say, especially with a brown bear, bears climb trees, right?
Yeah.
But grizzlies stop climbing trees when they get older. They climb trees when they're younger, but when they get older, they stop climbing trees. I'm sure they could probably still climb them, but they don't. A black bear. Did you ever see a video of a black bear climbing a tree?
I think so, yeah.
Man, it is scary. They can get from the bottom of a tree to the top of the tree in the blink of an eye.
I'm picturing a small bear when I picture a black bear.
Black bears, man.
You just told me, though.
They're big motherfuckers.
Yeah.
They're smaller compared to the grizzly and compared to the polar bear, but man, a black bear would fuck you up.
I think the bear I just saw at the zoo was black, and it looked kind of small in comparison to a stereotypical bear.
That's the bear you've seen in the zoo here in Taiwan was probably not a black bear. It was probably a Taiwan sun bear.
Yeah.
Did it have a bit of white around his face, a little bit of a grey or something, or brown around his face?
It was kind of light brown around the mouth.
Yeah. That's his Taiwanese sun bear. They're a small bear.
Formosa, they call them Formosa bears, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not like the black bear that I'm talking about is strictly native to America. You cannot find these
really?
you cannot find these bears
North
outside.
America.
I think it's Canada, America, and possibly Mexico. You cannot find a black bear.
North America and Central America.
Yeah, they've got a name for them like Americanus something.
Really?
Yeah, it's the black bear is distinct there. They've killed quite a lot of people, but the black bear, if you're getting chased by a black bear and you make it to a tree and you try and climb it, he's going to get you. There's a good chance he's going to get you. And there's been a lot of stories about grizzlies attacking people, and the people have made it to a tree, right? I remember one story in particular. This guy was snowmobiling with his dogs, and the bear lunged at him and knocked him off the snowmobile, and it was a grizzly, and he managed to make it to this tree and get up the tree, but the bear grabbed his foot and tore half his foot off. He managed to get up there, and the grizzly wasn't able to make it up.
So the grizzly can't climb. It sounded like you were saying the grizzly chooses, like he gets too old or he gets too lazy. It sounds like he's unable to climb the tree.
I'm not
past a
sure.
certain
According
age.
to this guy, the bear couldn't get up the tree, so I'm not certain, but
Maybe
I know
they just
that
get too heavy.
possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. The brown bear's claws are designed for climbing.
Okay.
The grizzly's claws are designed for
Shredding.
digging holes in the ground and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
So basically shredding, yeah.
Yeah.
Massive claws. One swipe of a grizzly bear's claws across your face, even a black bear's.
What was the bear in the Revenant? Do you know?
That was a brown bear. That was a
That was a
grizzly
brown
bear.
bear?
Yeah,
That was
a grizzly
fucking
bear.
scary,
that was
man.
fucking insane.
that was a very good scene.
So this dude made it up this tree, right? And you know what the grizzly done? Bears are extremely cunning and clever hunters and predators. These scary bear attacks, a lot of the stuff I'd heard of people that had survived or people that had been hunting the bears, and I'll tell you a story in a minute, a very good one. They were all saying how cunning the bears were, like how calculated they were, and how when they stalked you, they done it in a very meticulous way. This guy went up the tree and he's waiting, and the bear was kind of looking around, sussing out the situation. So the bear went over to the corner and pretended to fall asleep.
Whoa.
And the guy said, every time he'd make a move, the bear would just open one eye and look at him.
No way.
I'm fucking telling you, man. The bear's waiting. The bear's like, I know you got to come down out of this tree. 100%. In a lot of the cases of hunters, a lot of hunters that have shot bears, they'll approach the bear. In many of these bear attack stories that I heard on this guy's scary bear attacks, hunters have went and they've shot a bear, thought they got a kill shot, left their rifle down to go over and skin the bear, and as soon as they get close enough to the bear lunges up at them, and it's not dead. It's just pretending to be dead.
And then it's fucking
And
out for revenge.
Then it mauls you.
Oh my.
So there's around 40 bear attacks every year worldwide. Around 40. Now, can you guess where in the world most of these bear attacks happen?
Well, if you were just telling me that the black bear is mostly North America, Central America, right?
Yeah.
So I would guess there.
No. It's actually in the east. Russia, Turkey, and Iran has the highest rate of bear attacks in the world.
It's karma, huh?
And what about in America? What state in America do you think has the most bear attacks? And in this state was where probably the most famous bear attack in America, or one of the most famous bear attacks happened.
Oh, man. I was going to say California, and I'm like, no, that's not right. Because in California, I think it's like bobcats or mountain lions. That's like North Dakota or South Dakota.
Alaska.
That makes sense. I have a buddy in Alaska, and I recently asked him if he's seen any bears. He said he's seen a lot of bears.
Yeah, man. Alaska is one of the. It is the top place in America for bear attacks. Now, did you ever hear of Timothy Treadwell?
No.
They made a movie about Timothy Treadwell called Grizzly Man. It's a documentary.
Oh, I watched it.
Really?
I do know who he is.
Yeah.
I think you told me, or somebody told me, he was like crazy kind of hippie guy that went and lived with the bears.
Yeah, he was an American bear enthusiast. He was like an environmentalist, and he was also a documentary filmmaker. And he, along with this other woman, I think she was his ex-wife, they co-founded a bear protection organization called the Grizzly People. And he went out to Alaska to a place called Katmai National Park for 13 summers in a row. And what he'd done was he was living with the bears, like camping in around the grizzly bears and stuff like that. Like, which, I mean, again, this guy was a recovering, I think, alcoholic and drug addict. And I think, I haven't watched the documentary in years, but...
I watched it like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, shit, there you go.
Yeah.
He wanted to become a professional diver, I think when he was in university, and he broke his back, or he'd done something to his back, and that crushed his dreams of doing that. So he got into drugs and alcohol, and then he wanted to get into acting. And he lost out on the role. If you know the TV series Cheers?
Yeah.
He lost
Woody
out
Harrelson,
on
right?
the role
Uh-huh.
in Cheers to Woody Harrelson. Because he kind of looks like Woody Harrelson, right? He had blonde hair and everything
he looks
like that.
a surfer from like the Beach Boy time era.
That's exactly what he looks like. Yeah,
Yeah.
he does look like that. I thought the documentary was absolutely brilliant. The director was a guy called Werner Herzog. And then Timothy did not see the bears coming. He's just got a very dark type of voice. He's a brilliant filmmaker. And he made the documentary. And
there was a lot of controversy, right, around his behavior with the bears and whether that was right.
yes.
For listeners who didn't watch the documentary, he spent all this time living with the bears, getting to know the bears, naming the bears.
Yes.
And a lot
Chocolate,
of his-
Mr. Chocolate. And
Yeah. And a lot of the videos, like, he's talking, and there's, like, bears walking around behind him. And a lot of people thought it was, like, I don't know what the right word would be.
he was trying to break the barrier between human and animal, like,
So-
predator interactions. Like,
And a lot of locals thought that was wrong. Like, bears are wild animals. Bears should stay wild animals. We should respect them as ho.
I agree with that.
But
yeah.
he was trying to break the barrier.
He even touched a few of the wild grizzlies. Like one time he was in the water and there was a grizzly swimming around him and he like touched it on the nose and like he was trying to be accepted by the bears. Like he felt like they were his family and stuff like that and he wanted to be accepted by them and he filmed all the footage himself. He brought cameras out and recorded.
Supposedly,
Well, he had a girl with him
until
on
the end,
on-
he
Yep.
pretended like he was alone, but actually his girlfriend was there for like his last year of filming or his last summer.
Yes, so on October the 5th, 2003, Treadwell and his girlfriend called Amy Huguenard, they were both, they had been in this place. He named this area in Alaska where he used to go the Grizzly Maze. This is what he called this area. It was like a maze where bears would, you know, when an animal is walking through the brush, you can see their trail, right? Like if they're breaking down branches and trees and if they continue to use a certain path, you'll see it, right? So this place had tons of different walkways and paths where the bears would move through. And he camped in there on his last trip, like right beside the bears,
Wow.
in this place called the Grizzly Maze. And the thing about it is that he'd never been in this, he'd never stayed with the bears this late into the season. Like a lot of the bears he would have known were already gone into hibernation. Now what a bear does before it hibernates is it tries to stock up on as much fat and food as it possibly can because it's going to be asleep for months, right? So that's what it does. It eats whatever it can and stocks up. So he had been there in the summer and then they left to go back to California, but he had to switch his ticket. Somehow he had to switch his ticket. Just mad how things happen, right?
Yeah.
In the airport, and the price was too crazy, he said. They're like, fuck this. Like, the price is crazy. They had a big problem with the price in the airline. So they decided, fuck it, we'll fly back to the Grizzly Maze for one more week and we'll spend another week with the bears. There's some bear he wanted to track or look at or whatever like that. They flew back. They had this friend of theirs that would fly them onto this, like, on the area, because, you know, it's Alaska. There's no, like, you know what I mean? You're going to drive a car there. So this guy dropped them off and they went back to their camp. But he decided to camp right in the Grizzly Maze, amongst where the bears would be walking through and stuff like that.
Now, the airplane flies and lands on the water, right?
Yes.
And then they get off the airplane on like the coast.
Yeah, that's true. And that's actually where there was a photograph of his girlfriend taken, was getting off the plane. And so long story short, they camp out in this spot and he's filming like everything. He's filming himself. There's even like his last thing he said on camera, which was very creepy because he kind of left the camera and then he went back on like on the frame and he kept back in. It's like he had something to say and he like almost like he knew it was going to be the last thing he ever said on camera. So he recorded a few different bears that he'd never seen there before. And he was saying how he didn't like these bears. They were very like, they were kind of aggressive. He felt they were aggressive. And it's like, well, these bears should be hibernating by now. So clearly they're hungry. They haven't got enough fat and food in their bodies to hibernate. So they're going to be more aggressive and stuff like that. So long story short.
Whoa, well, hold on. So this time period,
Yeah.
the bears should have already been hibernating.
A lot of bears were already gone into hibernation, yes. But if the bear hasn't eaten enough fat or hasn't bulked up
The
enough.
bears were hangry. They're fucking hangry, man.
Fucking there you go,
I
yeah.
know how I get.
Hangry, big ass hangry. I seen you when you've been hangry, me too. Imagine a big ass grizzly when it's hangry.
Oh,
Fuck.
man.
So so on October 5th, 2003, Treadwell and his girlfriend Amy Huguenard were both killed and almost fully eaten by a 28-year-old male bear that he named the Machine. Later they found his remains in the bear and like they found his head and part of his spine connected to his head. Imagine coming across that. They found his arm, his right arm, thrown like strewn around the campsite with his wristwatch on it, and the whole thing was recorded on a video camera from their tent. But the lens cap was on the lens of the camera, so all they had was audio of the bear attack happening. The camera was turned on just before the attack, and it recorded for 6 minutes before it ran out of tape. And you could hear Treadwell like saying, "I'm being killed out here, I'm being killed out here." His girlfriend must have been in the tent. Probably happened in the middle of the night. It was raining, it was stormy. Can you imagine that in the middle of the night, raining and stormy?
It was nighttime?
They believe it was nighttime, yeah. And you can hear the guy who made the documentary, Werner Herzog, he listened to the tape. Timothy Treadwell's partner in this company, the Grizzly People, she had the tape. And he said you could hear Treadwell being mauled by the bear, and he's screaming like, "It's killing me, help me!" And his girlfriend would be terrified. She has to run out of the tent, and she's hitting it with pans and pots and everything like that, and it drags him off into the brush and eats him, and then it comes back for her later. And she's like, it killed her in the campsite. Like she was probably trying to get around this tent, and it mauled her and ate her as well.
What would you do?
Can you imagine that, man?
It like drags off your significant other.
Can you imagine that?
You run. You stay? She stayed.
She had written it. She did stay, and that's what a lot of people said. She stayed.
I don't think I would have stayed.
I
would have been like, I'm out.
I don't know. Like, and she wrote in her diary not long before that she was scared there. She was scared of the bears. She was scared there being there this time. Can you imagine that?
Because she was already desensitized, as was he. But there was something different this time, right? And you're saying it's that the bears should have already been hibernating.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of elements that he'd never been there this late in the season. Timothy Treadwell.
This was the latest he'd ever been there in this season.
Yeah, he camped in a spot that was like bears were walking through. This was their area for walking through. He didn't camp in a safe spot. Like he'd done a lot of things that were just like, you know what I mean? You're
kind of sloppy.
Yeah, you're dicing with death there. Really, like I thought. I loved the documentary. I thought Timothy Treadwell seemed like a great character, a great person, but he seemed a bit detached from reality.
He was very angry and bitter in the end. Remember him screaming at the camera?
Yeah,
because everybody wanted him to leave or something, and he was like, "Fuck you guys!"
Yeah, he felt like he was the protector of the bears, and everybody on the outside was like, poaching bears, doing whatever with the bears, but he lost a bit of touch with reality and like you said, the connection between humans and wild animals. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, it's great, you can observe these things from afar in a safe space, but when you're encroaching on them and you get... and he said if a bear kills me, don't be angry. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? He would want that to happen. But it's kind of... That's the Grizzly Man documentary. I recommend anybody out there to check that.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
And the music in it was phenomenal. The music was... They made a special feature on the DVD, I remember back in the day, and it was the making of the music for Grizzly Bear.
Really?
It's fantastic, man. Like, they get session musicians to come in and he plays the scenes on the screen, Werner Herzog, and he explains to them, I want it to feel like this. These musicians have never met each other before, and they all sit down in a room, live room, and they just start to improvise, and they play to what they're seeing. It's magical. Grizzly Man is a brilliant documentary about Timothy Treadwell. Now, when I was doing a bit of this research for the podcast, I knew quite a bit about bears and stuff like that before, but I always knew Ireland had bears. Back in, like, I don't know, I think the last bears were supposed to be wiped out in Ireland 2,500 years ago. So we had brown bears in Ireland, right? If you go to Ireland, you go on some of the cave tours. We got like cave tours, the Allowee Caves and different places like that. They still have the bear bones and skulls in these caves. So I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. So I thought, I'll get a bit of information on that. But what I didn't know, and this fascinated me, is that polar bears' ancestors came from Ireland.
Whoa.
I was like, what? I was reading this last. I was like, what the hell? So modern polar bears are partly descended from extinct brown bears that lived in Ireland during the last ice age, scientists recently discovered.
Yeah, how would a brown bear change into a polar bear?
Well, how brown bears turned into polar bears is that they believe that, I don't know, when the ice was melting, when a lot of the ice melted after the last ice age or whatever like that, that brown bears in Ireland would have moved maybe a bit more north, and the polar bears, because the ice had melted, were coming south. And polar bears and brown bears, when they interact in the wild, even today, if a polar bear and a brown bear interact, they can mate very successfully. So they mated, and they basically, the original Irish brown bears and the original polar bears don't exist anymore.
Wait a second, I'm a little confused. So I thought you said polar bears came from brown bears.
Today's polar bears
ancestor.
Yeah. So according to the scientists, they extracted DNA from the teeth and bones of 17 bears found at 8 cave sites across Ireland. 10 Irish brown bears from the Ice Age period between 10,000 and 38,000 years ago had the maternal DNA that is now seen in every polar bear today.
Whoa. Okay.
So that means every polar bear today is descended from Irish brown bears.
Whoa. All right.
Now, older pre-Ice Age brown bears dating to 43,000 and 38,000 years ago had a different genetic signature, matching that of modern bears from Eastern Europe. So the other bears were matched up with bears from Eastern Europe, but 10 of these bears that they found in the caves are directly linked to modern-day polar bears. So they believe polar bears may have moved into what is now Ireland when the region was experiencing much cooler temperatures than it is today. At the same time, brown bears may have been pushed towards the coast by advancing ice sheets. So warmer periods, they might bring species together when the sea levels rise and the glaciers melt. Environmental conditions appear to have played and continue to play a big part in the evolutionary history of polar bears.
Well, there you go. You just answered my question then. It was the weather or ice sheets or the space where you have warm weather becoming smaller and more condensed and forcing the animals together and then forcing them to mate and then causing new species to arise.
There you go.
Wow.
So we had, and you know why the bears became extinct in Ireland? Because Ireland used to be covered in forest and woodland. It's not like that today. Most of the woods and forests in Ireland today have been planted by people. The Brits came over and they cut down all our trees. They just wiped out all the forest wood, and it changed the ecosystem in Ireland. It changed we used to be a temperate rainforest, as far as I know, Ireland. And then when you take all that away, you take the environment away, you start to lose the animals, and everything starts to change. So yeah, it's crazy to think
makes sense. Like in the Amazon, the Amazon is one of the best places. I don't know how to word it exactly, but it takes a lot of the CO2 out of the environment.
Yep.
So the more we desecrate that, the more CO2 we have in the atmosphere.
And it takes that out of the and it releases oxygen into the air.
Right.
So that's why we need these trees. But it's crazy to think that Ireland used to have wolves. They used to have bears.
Whoa.
And we wiped them out.
There's no more wolves or bears.
No more wolves or bears. And it's crazy to think though that polar bears today are directly descended from Irish bears.
That's scary, man. Wolf attacks too? Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
That's scary.
I'm telling you. One last little thing I've gotten. We can keep this short and sweet today, but this was pretty damn interesting, right? So I was checking up, what are the chances of a bear attack? Like, there's 40 bear attacks a year. Shark attacks are even less, right? You're more likely to be attacked and killed by a bear than you are by a shark. You're more likely to be killed by a bee sting than you are by either of those things.
Really?
Yeah, but get this. There was a guy, he was bitten by a shark, mauled by a bear, and bitten by a rattlesnake. All in separate times in his life.
I was wondering.
And the odds of this happening are 893 quadrillion to 1. You've a much, 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 much higher chance of being struck by lightning than being bit by any one of these animals.
You really have to be putting yourself in that situation for that to happen so frequently, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. So, let me quickly read this guy's story. This guy's name was Dylan McWilliams, right?
Oh my gosh. Someone sent me an article about Dylan McWilliams.
The fuck?
My friend from Alaska.
What? No way.
Yeah.
I just came across this last night.
Unluckiest man in the world.
That's what they call him, yeah.
I never read it, so lay it on me.
All right, so Dylan McWilliams, originally from Grand Junction in western Colorado. This was the shark attack. He was bodyboarding off the island of Kauai in Hawaii when he felt something hit his leg. He said he'd seen the shark underneath him and he started kicking at it. And he reckons he hit the shark once, but by the time he'd swam to shore, he'd already had a massive gash on his body. He required 7 stitches from the shark, and they figured out from the teeth marks that it was a tiger shark. So he got mauled by a tiger shark when he was body surfing in Hawaii. I mean, a tiger shark is a serious... It's in the top 3 sharks. Great white, bull shark, tiger shark. They're
top
the
3 what?
They're the 3 sharks that are responsible for the most shark attacks on people in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, a bull shark has got the highest levels of testosterone for any animal in the world.
Sharks have testosterone?
Yeah, bull shark is pumped full of it.
Whoa.
It's an extremely aggressive shark. And again, I mean, sharks are just doing what they do. They just hunt. It's their ocean. If you don't go in the fucking ocean and swim around, you don't get bit by a fucking shark. A shark. I never heard of a shark coming out of the fucking ocean to drag someone out of their fucking tent and bring them into the ocean so they can attack them. So if you get attacked by a shark, it's because you're in his fucking habitat and you're in his environment, right? Sharks
like
don't.
A bear too, right? The guy we were just talking about.
Exactly. You don't see somebody going through the fucking like the plains of Africa for a run, for a sprint. Well, I'm just going for a run to keep fit. It's my right to run where I want to run. And it's like, yeah, there's the pride of lions over there. I don't care. I don't care. It's my right as a human. You're going to get mauled by the lions. So when you go out surfing in the middle of the ocean or swimming across the fucking coast of Australia that are teamed with fucking bull sharks, tiger sharks, and white sharks, and you get bitten, you should accept that it's your own fucking fault. It's sad, it's terrible, it's a tragedy, but at the end of the day, you know what you're doing. It's their habitat.
Well, it's just
Don't.
like if you put your hands in the fire and you get burnt.
There you go.
Same thing.
So don't go blaming the sharks. So shark attacks do occasionally happen in Hawaii, especially by tiger sharks, right? Now, however, the odds of being attacked by a shark in the US is 11.5 million to 1.
Jeez.
So to put that into perspective, the average American has about 1 in 5,000 chances of being struck by lightning during their lifetime. So you've much higher chance of being struck by lightning than they have of being attacked by a shark in American waters, right? Yeah, so anyway, so this guy, Dylan McWilliams, he got mauled by the tiger shark. And then when he was backpacking across the US and Canada for a few years, he also managed to beat a 1 in 2.1 million odds of being injured by a bear. When he was hiking through Canada and America, a black bear bit him on the head while he was sleeping on a camping trip in Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people that get attacked by these bears too are out sleeping outside in their tents camping, and sometimes they just get grabbed by the head or the legs and dragged into the bush and eaten. A lot of bear attacks I heard in that, guys.
From their tent.
Some of them from their tent, yes, and some
Or
of them
maybe
that
sometimes in a hammock or something.
They're just sleeping out beside the fire, and the bear will just come along and grab them, maul them, and take them off into the bush. A lot of bear attacks have occurred like that in that way. So yeah, he escaped this bear attack by poking the bear in its eye. So imagine that. The park authorities caught the bear and they found McWilliams' blood under the bear's claws and they put the animal down. He had to get 9 staples to close the back of his head up. He had to get 9 staples put in his head.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's kind of, in one way, he's lucky.
Yeah.
Because like the chances of getting bit by a tiger shark and only having 7 stitches is pretty small. The chances of a bear, a fucking black bear, grabbing you by the head and all you have to get is 9 staples. Because most of
he got 7 stitches from the shark.
Yeah,
9
staples in his head from the bear.
Oh my!
But usually, like I said, like a black bear, if a black bear grabs you by the head or it's attacking you, you usually come away with like absolutely terrible
Well, you
injuries.
don't come away at all.
Like people are missing eyes, their noses get ripped off, their face gets ripped off, their scalp. Like I said, a lot of times bears scalp you, like they get arms torn. So in one way, he's lucky that he only had minor injuries. To be honest with you, I mean, again, 9 staples to close the back of your head is pretty bad, but not compared to some of these stories I've heard. And again, like it says, a North American black bear that attacks a human is generally hungry. They usually attack
a black
you for
bear
food.
that attacks people in North America is generally hungry.
Yep, so they usually attack you as a predator. Now, such attacks are pretty rare, and they're usually because the bear has learned to associate humans with food by eating from bird feeders, trash cans, or stuff like that, you know? So, maybe not so surprisingly, given McWilliams' luck, hiking in Utah in 2015, and he also managed to stumble onto a rattlesnake. He said the bite had little venom in it and decided not to go to the hospital, even though he was sick for a couple of days. The odds of being bitten by a venomous snake in the US are estimated to be 1 in 37,000. The odds of being killed in a car accident are scary. The odds of being killed in a car accident in America are 1 in 112.
Wow, that's pretty common. Or high.
1 in 112.
Yeah.
So if there's 112 people, if we're in America, 112 people, 1 in that 112 is probably going to die in a car crash. That's fucking scary. So someone said he's one of the unluckiest guys on the planet. How unlucky? Well, since each event is independent, like they didn't all happen together. You know what I mean? He didn't get mauled by the shark, then get dragged out of the water and a bear attacks him on land, and then he crawls to safety and then until a snake bites him. You know, they all happened at different times independently of each other. And they said the odds of each are multiplied together, making the odds of this happening 893 quadrillion to 1. McWilliams just chalks all this up to being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You think? You think, McWilliams? You think you're going to get attacked by a fucking shark if you're taking a stroll on the beach? I don't think so. I mean, you think you're going to get mauled by a bear if you're not out in his fucking territory, camping outside, making loads of noise with your fucking food lying around everywhere? I don't think so, McWilliams. So he encourages everyone to experience the outdoors. He said he still goes hiking. I still catch rattlesnakes and I still swim.
He catches rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I knew an Aussie guy that done the Pacific Crest Trail in America, and he was catching rattlesnakes. He showed me one of the videos, and he's got a rattlesnake in each fucking hand.
Are they poisonous?
Yeah, rattlesnakes are extremely
Where do
venomous.
you catch them?
Yeah, you can catch them.
Why do you catch them? Why would somebody catch a rattlesnake?
He does it because he was an Aussie, and he's like, he grew up in Australia where they got tons of fucking badass snakes. But I seen in the video, yeah, he'd one rattlesnake in the right hand and one in the left, and his girlfriend was shouting, and I'm like, Ben, maybe I shouldn't say his name. Fuck it, whatever, I'll say his name. He's like, Ben, what are you bloody doing when you put down those fucking rattlesnakes? And he's like, oh, mate, look at the fucking, these two are beauties. And it's like, they're out in the middle, they were in the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a crazy hike in America where you hike from Mexico to Canada. Like, through the wild, like, snow-capped mountains, everything. And him and his girlfriend done it, and it took them months, like 3.5 months to do this. You're out in the bush, out in the wild. She's like, if you get bit by them snakes, what are we going to do? Like, we're miles away from anyone or anything. But he was still picking them up, and this guy was
still
wild.
I mean, are they catching them so they can like eat them?
No. He was just
like for sport.
He was just people see. We're humans,
so like we get in the ice bath. This physio assumed for the rush, which
I
don't know if it's really for the rush. So Aussies catch rattlesnakes for the rush.
Well, they don't have rattlesnakes in Australia. This guy was in America.
Okay.
Yeah, you got like the eastern back and the western diamondback rattlesnakes in America. And again, you'll know a rattlesnake because it's got that to warn you that it's there. Snakes, like most animals, again, unless I guess some types of bears or some types of mountain lions and stuff like that, they will hunt you as a food source. Like you've got the tigers. Tigers hunt people for food. Same with crocodiles. I'll get into that in another podcast. But things like snakes don't hunt people. Snakes don't want to bite you. Snakes want to get as far the fuck away from you as possible. So most of the time when people get bit by a snake, it's because they stumble upon the snake and they don't see the snake and they step on it usually or something like that. That's how most snake attacks occur. And it's the same with rattlesnakes. That's why a rattlesnake has evolved to have a rattle in its tail to warn you. Hey,
it's warning.
I'm here.
People.
Get the fuck away, yeah. Or other animals that might want to eat it or something like that. Let know.
But what about the like anacondas?
What about them?
Is there any truth to that? Like the movie? Like giant snakes eating people in the Amazon or whatever?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Fuck
yeah, anacondas have eaten people, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're not.
We talked about it, right? We talked about it.
I love the movie.
Invasive Species episode, we kind of talked about it a little bit, right?
I mean, it's blown out of proportion a little bit. You know, there was legends and stories of anacondas that big, but, you know, anaconda's the biggest snake in the world.
What was the story I told you about a snake that broke out of its aquarium and ate the baby?
That's happened many times.
Yeah.
Where pythons, the people keep them as pets, they've managed to escape.
Burmese pythons.
Yeah, they managed to kill people in the house of that. They're constrictors. So an anaconda...
Boa constrictors?
Yeah, an anaconda and a python, they're constrictors. They don't have venom. What they do to kill their prey is they strangle it. They squeeze the life out of it. So they say every breath you take in, like this, imagine... There's a snake around your belly. Every time you breathe in, he tightens tighter. Now you can't breathe out all that air much. Then you go to breathe in again, he tightens tighter.
That's crazy.
Imagine that like crushing on your lungs.
It's like sexual in a way. Like it's like
I knew you'd fucking say something like that.
You know what I mean? Though, just imagine for a second you're there and there's a snake that's slowly wrapping around you and slowly squeezing you.
It'd be the most terrifying thing.
It's totally terrifying, but in a way
you're there trying to jerk off. Hang on a second, let me get my pants down.
In a way, it's like a really romantic way to kill somebody. Like the snake is just very slowly squeezing the life out of you, and you're like, oh no! And the snake's just taking its time.
Are you kidding me, man? That's like the last thing I was thinking. I was just thinking of I would be terrified.
Well, the bear's just like, rah!
And
right?
you know what it can do sometimes as well?
Huh.
Some cases when the snake is wrapped around you and squeezing the life out of you, he'll sometimes even start to eat you before you're dead.
Ooh.
So imagine he's wrapped around your belly, around your midsection, and his head can be looking at your head. Like, and you've no control. Imagine your hands are together. You have zero control. And next minute the snake opens its mouth. It dislocates its jaws so it can walk. It's like snakes can eat things 10 times bigger than they are. There was the case of a python that ate a crocodile and it exploded its stomach.
So that aspect of the movie's true. Anaconda.
Yeah. They'll eat you sometimes when you're still alive. Like they can dislocate their jaws so that they can make their mouth huge and they'll swallow you whole.
So I'm standing here. This snake is romantically squeezing the life out of me, and then
trying to jerk off.
And then he makes eye contact with me. He's looking at me. And I'm still alive, and then he just dislocates his jaw and starts like chewing on me from my ear.
Not chewing, it's just
swallowing me alive.
He slowly walks his mouth over you. He slowly walks
over my head.
His two bottom jaws become independent of themselves. Like one's left, one's right. They split, and he walks his head and body over you. Basically like putting on a sock. Imagine putting a big long sock on from your foot all the way up to your knee. He basically does that with you.
So I'm like struggling to breathe. Meanwhile,
you're probably
the inside of a snake's mouth.
Yeah, man, you've probably been fucking. There was a guy before, and I think he was. I don't know if he was for the Discovery Channel or whatever the fuck he was, and he put himself in a tube, and he was trying to become the first person to be swallowed by was it an anaconda? It was some ridiculous thing he tried to do, and I don't think it worked. He wanted to be swallowed alive by a snake inside a tube and record it. I don't remember what happened to that. I don't remember what happened in that situation. Whether they aired it, I remember reading about that before, and I was like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But there is a great guy called Austin Stevens. He's one of these like wildlife guys like Steve Irwin, or another guy called Steve Backshall. Why have they all got the name Steve?
You're making me think of the wrestler. Wasn't his name
Steve
Austin?
the
316?
The three top guys that I know in the wildlife world like that I used to love watching growing up was a guy called Austin Stevens, Steve Irwin, and Steve Backshall. And one's from Australia, one's from South Africa, and one's from England.
Wow.
But this Austin Stevens guy, he's wild, man. Like rattlesnakes and snakes, they hibernate as well. When the weather gets cold, snakes can't survive in the cold because they're cold-blooded reptiles. They need the sun to get heat in order to get energy in order to live and survive and hunt. So they burrow underground. They make burrows underground. And rattlesnakes make these burrows under the ground, like little caverns. And there could be fucking 50 of them in there. And this guy crawled in there on his belly in this crazy... watch it, man. Somebody, I don't know, watch it. Go on to YouTube and watch Austin Stevens.
And then like 6 snakes start snapping
Not even
at his
6,
face.
man. There was like 20 in there.
Oh,
you just hear all
my
rattles.
God.
And he's got this tiny camera and he's crawling in there in his belly. And it's so claustrophobic. That's one of the first things I ever seen him, and I was like, who is this guy? Who is this fucking legend? And he's recording on the camera, and it's like a rattlesnake crawling over his leg and everything. Eventually he comes out of there. So I was like,
he didn't die.
No, I eventually checked this guy. I started watching all his stuff. He got chased up a tree by a rhino before in Africa. Like, he's like, fuck, run, mate, run, fucking run. And he's like, running, he jumps up the tree, and the rhino's belting the bottom of the tree, and I was like, this guy is unreal.
I would like to see the video of that.
He gets bit on the finger by a fucking cobra in Africa too. And he instantly like, fuck, mate, fuck, I've been bit. And the blood's pissing out his finger. Luckily for him, he got rushed to the hospital and everything like that. Like, you watch these wildlife shows. I mean, I know Steve Irwin got killed by a stingray and everything like that, but you watch these shows and like a lot of the times nothing happens to the people that are handling the animals. This guy's been mauled, chased by a rhino.
Chased by a rhino? That's insane.
He got bit by the cobra. And again, they brought him to the hospital, rushed him to the hospital. The cobra hit a vein in his finger and it pissed the blood out, and it also reckons that it might have pissed out the venom. So he got very lucky. He got very lucky. Then I don't remember where he was, and he caught this massive python in the wild. Like, it was huge. They pulled it out of this hole in the ground. He's there pulling it by the tail, and he's like, bloody hell. He's from South Africa, so he talks like this. He's like, bloody hell, this thing's huge. And that sounds like a Kiwi from us. Whatever.
Yeah,
never mind. He pulls a snake out. Long story short, the snake wraps around him and fucking grabs him and fucking bites his hand and tears all his fucking arm, man. These pythons have crazy sharp teeth like needles. Little needles in their mouth. And he gets mauled by this fucking python. So you can watch this guy. He's a photographer. He's a wildlife photographer. But he's like, you'll be on the edge of your seat watching this guy. And he gets mauled all the time.
Has he ever been mauled by a hippo?
Nah, you'd be dead.
Hippos scare me, man.
Hippos kill more people in Africa than any other animal. They
really?
bite you in half. Hippos bite you in half. Yeah, the hippos
They scare me a lot. I think because
Well,
there was a
scary.
hippo in Anaconda. And ever since that movie, I'm like, dude, that looks like the scariest animal to get killed by. They're so huge,
Yeah.
with long piercing teeth, and
Yeah.
they're so strong.
And they're extremely aggressive and territorial.
Really?
Very defensive. Hippos. But the hippos have been known to bite people in half. They kill more people in Africa than any other animal in the world.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Hold on. What do you reckon the scariest animal would be to get killed by?
That's a good question. I've thought about this many times. I used to ask people these kinds of questions. It's like, okay, picture you're in the ocean. You're floating in the ocean. You say your boat sank or whatever happened, and you can see nothing around you but water, and you're floating. And the top half of your body is above the water, but the other half is under the water. You've no idea what's there, what's coming at you. The scariest thing I feel about being attacked by a shark is you have zero control. You're floating in the ocean. This is this predator's fucking dining hall. It's his kitchen. On land, I always feel like you've more of a chance. Like, even against a bear, I know a grizzly and shit like that, but I feel like for some reason you have more of a chance because you're on land. There's more things you can do. So I feel being in the ocean and a shark or a crocodile. Crocodiles terrify me. I won't get into crocodile sticks. I want to do a podcast on crocodile attacks and crocodiles. They fascinate me. Anything where you're in the water and you've no control, for me, that's the scariest. What about you?
I think a pack of wolves, like getting ripped apart and killed by a pack of wolves. I think that's pretty terrifying.
On the scary animal attacks, he's got one about a guy
I think I remember
in
the
Alaska.
big-
He got attacked like with 6 wolves, and they just, like you said, tore him apart.
It's so scary.
I would
that's
go,
also no control. If there's like 6 of them, man, and it's nighttime.
and they all attack you at a different time. One will attack you from the left, and when you try to go for that one, the other one will attack you from the side. They attack you in a pack, in a group, so they're very
Powerless.
intelligent
Totally
hunters. Yeah, they're very smart hunters.
Jesus.
That's another crazy one. Scary Animal Attacks. Anyone out there that's listening, listen
Check
to
it out. Yeah.
Scary Animal Attacks, Scary Bear Attacks on YouTube. It's a really great channel. I listen to it at nighttime with the light off and the lamp on. And
Halloween's
smoke with
coming,
them
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Explore your fears.
yeah, we're going to be, this whole month of October, our podcasts are going to be centered around Halloween type themes or like scary shit or stuff like that. So the whole month of October, we're
Yeah.
going to dedicate this podcast to scary
Yeah,
shit.
baby. Get your fear on.
I don't think
Get
that's
your fear on.
scarier than like wild animal attacks or human attacks for me, you know. Anyways, you know what, Yank?
Yeah, man.
Let's leave it there today.
Beautiful.
I hope everybody enjoyed that episode. I had a lot of fun doing that
I
episode.
did too.
I love this kind of stuff. And today, like I said, we're going to leave you with a song by an Irish band called Ham Sandwich. Like I said before, these guys have got a new album out now, so you can check that album out. And the album is called Magnify. They're currently touring around Ireland. They got a lot of dates. They're playing in Dublin, Meath, Tyrone, Limerick, Louth, Cork, Galway. They're playing all over the country, and I believe they're playing in England soon too. So big shout out to Ham Sandwich. Thanks very much for letting us play your tune.
Thank you, Ham Sandwich.
Yeah, this song is called Electro Wave,
All right.
and it's groovy, baby.
All right.
Woo! Peace.
Count 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a lot. You should never return till you've had enough. 1, 2, 3 times I forgot to deliver this need to start it up. Electro wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a lot. You should never return till you've had enough. 1, 2, 3 times I forgot that we're taking the time to start it up.
Saturday night.